Hello, everybody. Welcome to the YouTube channel for our very first ever live Dope Nostalgia.
Yay!
Hey, everybody in the chat. I see there's a few of you guys, and I'm really like kind of restricted to one hand today, so I don't know if I'll be able to chat physically, but I'll see your comments. So, can you guys hear everybody? Okay. It's the first question I have out in the chat.
Check.
Check. Hello? Hello? Hi?
No,
Anybody there?
Recording in progress.
Hey, I figured maybe I should actually record the damn thing.
Oh, look, that might be a good idea.
Just of
so
all
many
things.
that play.
Of all
Well,
things.
it's official now.
All things. I'm not hearing anybody say they can hear us yet. Well, as long as we can hear each other. Yo, friends, can you guys hear us out in YouTube land? And is it sounding all right for you?
Let us know in the chat.
Let us know in the chat. Just say, hey, yo, somebody. Anybody scream.
What's up, my people?
Then I'll feel ready. Oh, all good. Thank you, Michelle. All right, guys,
Yeah.
welcome.
Yay.
This is our third year officially of the Dope Nostalgia podcast. And we thought, hey, why not try this and see what could go wrong, right? Jimmy's favorite phrase.
that's my theory of life.
Could possibly go wrong. So I really want to welcome my special guest today, of course, Andrew Scott from It's a Conspiracy podcast, which if you haven't had a chance to check out yet, you must. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
This is his
I'm
third
really happy to be here.
his third Dope Nostalgia now too. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
He's good at this. That's why we got to get him back. And from the Jedi Jimmy podcast, as well as Cruise 95.7 FM in Edmonton, Alberta's morning show. Welcome to James White. James P. White. Jimmy.
Yo.
Jimmy Jam.
That's me.
And of course,
There.
welcome to Kendra Klassen Hunt, who's always been a co-host for me many, many times. You guys know her, you love her. Say hi to Kendra.
Hello.
Yay.
She's
Also known as the podcaster with no podcast. 'Cause I just jump
She's on
everybody
everyone's
else's.
podcasts but her own. And you can check out her music. What link can people check out your music page at?
They can go to either our Facebook or Instagram. We post a lot on Instagram. Just JD and the word and, not the symbol, and Kendra. And
JD and
we got a lot of videos
Kendra.
up there.
Okay, sweet. Sweet. So I'm welcoming everybody. You can see us all okay, hear us all okay. It's good to go. If you see on the screen there too, invite your friends, share, get some subscribes going on to the channel, because my goal today is trying to get a few new subscribers by the end of the show. We'll see how that goes on our YouTube. I know we're not YouTube centric. We're a podcast, which means like generally we kind of concentrate on like Spotify and Apple Music and those types of platforms, but YouTube's fun. So why not? You know? But speaking of which, that reminds me, I've noticed a lot in the past year, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, especially with having your own podcast, a lot of people do not understand what the definition of a podcast is.
Really? That's interesting.
Have you found that?
I would love to hear what the definition of a podcast is, because frankly, I don't know if I could define exactly what a podcast is and how it would be separate from other platforms.
I'm with Andrew.
Yeah.
I think the primary thing that sets it apart is the opposite of what we're doing right now, is that it's usually recorded. It's pre-recorded, and you can get it at any time. You don't have to be there like to hear it at a certain time. When it drops, it's out into the universe, and you can listen to it whenever you want. Which is funny. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to give shout outs to everybody. Christy, Rebecca, Karene, Annie, Michelle, Rattail, everybody out in the chat. Thank you for being here today. I really smell a rat. Annie, hi. I don't know if Annie got this, but I gave her a shout out on one of our episodes because she's one of the sweetest listeners we have. She always has such nice things to say in our social media after every episode. So Annie, thank you so much for that. And hey, JD's on the YouTube.
Oh, hi, JD.
Yay.
I love how she's watching downstairs from me.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do my best to be watching the comments at the same time. So we'll see. We'll see how much I can do multitask. And welcome Sonia to the chat as well. All right. So yeah, the definition of a podcast, pre-recorded. You can get it anytime. Now, the other thing I always wonder too is it always going to be just audio, or some people consider a podcast a visual form too? I don't know.
It's funny because you get some people that like the majority of it is listened to on like either like wherever you like to listen to it, Spotify or whatnot. But you find that a lot of people always end up accidentally saying, "Yeah, I watched your show," but like you don't have any visuals. So
Everyone
it's always
says
so
that.
funny when people do that.
And I'm
Like-
grateful that they're paying attention. I'm just like, oh, you watched my show.
You watched my audio. Nice.
Like my Jedi Jimmy podcast is both. It's recorded and video recorded at the same time. So it runs as a video as well as you get the audio version as well. Like
Yeah.
because mine is very visual, like I do lightsaber stuff, which doesn't translate well in audio.
Oh yeah, you have some visual elements that are pretty cool.
Well, you can't really be the Jedi Jimmy podcast without a lightsaber. Come on.
That is pretty much a prerequisite. Yeah.
Or the crazy Star Wars.
Have you got a lightsaber with you tonight? Are you going to be doing any lightsaber demonstrations tonight? 'Cause-
Probably.
Could
I
I
have
think it's
I have-
you should show
I
the
have
people.
3 on my wall right behind me, kind of.
Give the
Okay.
people what they want, Jimmy.
All right, out in the chat room in the world, I think you guys want to see the lightsabers, right? Oh, I think
oh,
so.
look at those.
Okay.
Wow.
Here's a demonstration of what he's got here. So you can find the Jedi Jimmy podcast on YouTube, by the way, folks. He's got several episodes you can catch up on. You ready?
Am I doing a demonstration?
Yes.
What you want me to do?
Do a demonstration.
Yeah. And like a clothes on demonstration, if you don't mind. Just
Oh, my clothes are on.
okay.
His shirt's
He
usually
hasn't
off
had
by
enough
now.
beers yet. So he probably needs at least 2 more.
I was gonna have some drinks, but then I'm like, no, I have to walk after this. I can't even walk properly, so. Not with
Oh
a
yeah. Jimmy, may I ask who is this lightsaber? Like, which Jedi is this? Who does this belong to?
This is Anakin Skywalker's, also known as Luke Skywalker's and it was Rey's. So it's all 3.
Nice.
That is not a broom handle you just stuck in there. Whoa.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, sweet. Do you have enough space there to really get your groove on?
this is incredible.
Okay, you
I'm
kind of
just
got an
so-
idea.
This is exciting.
You kind of got an idea.
It made a noise. It
some
made
of the
noise
listeners are
too.
thinking you should take your shirt off, Jimmy.
Yeah. Rat Tail wants the shirt off. Okay.
This is a democracy. I mean, if the people speak, then
We
Take
give the
them
people
off,
what
right?
they want.
yeah.
This is not a Jedi Jimmy shirtless podcast.
You have
This
to
is
say,
your podcast.
you have to there's more nudity in my podcast than your podcast. But I get it. You gotta save it for your podcast. That'll get people there. I'll be like, you gotta go check out his shirtless clips. He's got a TikTok, right? What's your
Yep.
TikTok?
I think it's James P. White too.
Nice.
Everything is James P. White.
Okay. So
There's so many social medias now. You have to actually remember them all. Like, what is it on this one again? Is there a dash in between my name or not?
are you guys doing TikTok's kind of fun. It's taken me a long time to get past the learning curve with it though.
Yeah,
Like,
me
I feel
too.
like it's the one thing that
The
makes
amount
me
of-
feel 60 years old.
I don't even want to admit how many times it takes me to do one of our videos because I'm like, damn it, that's not how you do it. How did I get that last time? Shit, I accidentally deleted something. I'm like, I feel so old when I'm using this app.
That
The
and
majority of
Snapchat. Ugh.
The majority of the things I do on TikTok is usually me drunk in my living room doing something stupid.
Well, again, give the people what they want. I mean, I love those videos, Jimmy. Like, they are fantastic.
But I especially love it when elementary school kids who saw me do an anti-bullying program.
Mhm.
I saw you at my school as I'm dancing around my living room in my underwear.
You should tell the people about your other jobs.
Oh, man.
They seem to randomly come up in conversation sometimes.
What other job? I'm a stripper.
Yeah.
Like,
How could you forget about that job?
I don't think there's much I don't do for money.
Oh, Now we're talking. Okay.
We got Mikey in the chat.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, everybody, for your awesome birthday wishes. 3 years, we actually made it this far, and it's been an incredible year. Incredible. I guess we should start by saying, of all of the guests we've had this year, and I'll ask you each individually. You might need to look back at the list because even I can't remember right now who's all been on the show this year. But what was maybe one or two of your favorite guests that we had on? We'll start with Kendra.
Favorite guest. Well, first off, like one of my favorites of this last year was the Go-Go's episode with Gina. She was awesome. I loved her energy. She was like so fun to listen to. Like your interview with her was really awesome, and she had such great energy, and it was such a great interview.
That was insane because I thought, this is a Go-Go. This is like huge.
That's
She's
huge.
Gina Shock, the drummer from the Go-Go's. And I'm like, how did I even get this? And it wasn't an interview I had reached out to get because this was something that I thought, oh, there's no way I would get the Go-Go's, right? And when I think of the Go-Go's, I kind of think of the 80s more than I do the 90s, right? But they were very active in the 90s as well.
Oh yeah.
So it was actually a publicist who mentioned it to me that Gina was doing interviews right now, and I'm like, yep, I'm on. I'll do it.
Yeah, bring it on. Oh, it was such a great interview, especially for the fact that, like, you know, she was talking about in the episode, isn't she only the second drummer to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Second female drummer.
Yeah.
Yep, the second female drummer ever. And they had just been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like a month before.
Yeah, like it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was wow.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites for sure. And the LFO episode with Brad. I never remember how to say this. Fischetti.
Yeah. Very Italian.
Yeah, that was a really great episode. It was sad because, like, I had no idea that two of the other members of LFO had passed on until that episode. So, like, to get him on and get him talking about it and how he's trying to keep their name and like their band's legacy alive and everything he's doing, I thought it was just such a great episode.
It was beautiful, honestly, because I tell you, when you're dealing with such heavy like topics like that too, as an interviewer, it's kind of scary because you're really afraid that you don't want to make the person upset.
Yeah.
You know, but he handled everything so gracefully, and it was really nice to, like, basically you got to go into it thinking we're going to give a nice tribute to the people who have passed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's totally how it came off. Like, it was like such a great conversation between the two of you, and it was very heartfelt, and it was lovely to listen to.
Joey says happy birthday, like Joey Mack. There's a bunch of people from New York in the house that are
nice.
New York. That's
Your
awesome.
New
They
York
were-
buddies.
our friends who were at Carnegie Hall last night in New York City watching Joey McIntyre's 50th birthday celebration concert.
Oof.
So
Why does that ever make me feel old?
he's 50.
One of the new kids on the block.
50.
They're all 50 now,
They're
aren't
all
they?
over 50 now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's official. It's official. We're old.
We're old, but he was always the youngest one.
He's
Like,
the
wasn't he
baby.
like 8 when they got famous? He was just a
close.
kid,
It's a child.
just a tiny child.
Pretty close. I love you guys. Thank you for making the time to tune in today and jump onto the chat and say hi. Wow, this is an amazing
Meow
chat.
Meow Crew. Hi.
It's Meow Meow Crew. I know. Ratel, Meow Meow Crew, all of you. Thank you. And Mikey also, you know, we love you.
And my
Mikey's
wife,
such a good
JD,
supporter
who's
of the show.
downstairs.
Ashley from Louisiana watching. Yes. Welcome.
Oh yeah,
Ashley.
nice.
That's awesome.
He's still the youngest one. Yeah, they don't. It doesn't. It's not a race. You can't
It
really
hasn't
Yeah.
changed.
age up to someone
it
and
hasn't
catch up or
changed yet.
anything.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
Jonathan is 46. That would
Oh,
be he would like that, I'm sure. Okay. Jimmy, what is one of your favorite best guests of the past year?
I have to say Susan Aguka.
nice.
Oh, another
Good
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 episode.
choice.
Good Canadian, and I remember listening to her music when I was younger, and just And then the podcast itself just was pretty well done. And what a great person she is too.
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Crystal was on that episode too.
Crystal is a big supporter of this show in many, many ways. And not only that, she's one of my best friends on earth. So it was really exciting to get her involved in that interaction with her being an Indigenous person, to speak with Susan about Indigenous issues, especially the things that affect Canadians. So it was beautiful. Very, very happy that whole moment happened. Yeah.
That was a really, really great episode too. I loved it as well. It was one of my favorites as well.
I was going to say here in the chat, I'm seeing there's some questions. I am so happy throughout all of us. We can totally answer your questions. I got a question from Rat Tail saying, "Can you tell us how you source your guests?"
Oh, the secret. Is it are we gonna
It's
find
not-
out?
It's not some secret sauce. It's not some magical unicorn type shit. It's basically it all started in March 2020. No, January 2020, when nobody was doing anything. Musicians had to stay at home. We all had to stay at home. And suddenly the world was my oyster to reach out to people because they weren't doing anything. You know, there was no shows, nothing going on. So it was a horrible time, but it was a good time to build the podcast because people were available. And when we set out to do this show, it wasn't going to be interviewing anybody. It was just going to be like hanging out with friends talking about, hey, remember this band? I didn't actually think that I would be able to get people on it. So they started with that. And then now how I source guests, kind of the same way. And it's kind of easier than you'd think because I just basically start by reaching out to them on their social media. Some are trickier to get to than others. Some of them I reach out to managements and agents. And there are actually a few publicists and agents who keep me on their mailing list. So as a media source, so if somebody they have that they represent is doing interviews right now, sometimes I'll get that email and I'll be like, put my hand up. Yeah, let's do it. So that is the magic. That is it. If you
Timing
wanna
was
start
really,
your own-
really good in that sense for you when it came to like everything shutting down and you had all this availability and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was all timing. So it gave me enough time to build up a list of guests that we've had and then kind of go from there. And thank you for the question. Rebecca and Chrissy are celebrating Dope Nostalgia's birthday together today. And I want to thank you guys for getting together and doing that and having some drinks
Hi.
and cheers.
cheers to that. Are you guys doing some shots?
Hopefully. Yeah. So now we'll move on and I'll ask Andrew. Andrew, what was your favorite guest of the year?
Well, first of all, I got to tell you something. So when you were talking about this here, there's a quote from Malcolm Gladwell that kind of popped into my head. So you were saying, the timing and but Malcolm Gladwell said that achievement is talent plus preparation plus luck. So you had a really good idea. You're super talented. You're really motivated. And the timing was kind of out of your hands on that. Like, unless you were behind that whole pandemic thing, which maybe, I don't know.
Sorry,
no.
guys.
But you were prepared with a really good idea and just a very, very talented person. So yeah, that's definitely I think the secret there is just hard work. I was a huge fan of the Fastball episode. I really liked them. When I was in high school, I thought it was a really, really cool kind of different sort of sound. I didn't realize that they'd worked with Brian Setzer. So I was just like, as a guitar player, like he's such a unique talent. And the other one that I really, really loved was the girls from Quebec. And I'm trying to think what their name is. Sky?
Yeah.
And
from the group Sky.
I'm just, yeah. So I don't know when that was, and I hope that was since January. I feel like it was. But they were fantastic, right? Like just super, super cool. And just again, like a unique Canadian talent and just something a little different. And I do have to say that as also with a little geeky moment here, getting to join you and talk to Christian Simpson from Glue Leg was like, just my inner 15-year-old was like, oh, I just love these guys. So it was just so cool getting to actually, see him now and just kind of
I'm really glad we could make that happen because it was something you and I were talking about ahead of time. I'm like, Andrew, I want you to come on the show. Who do you want to talk about? And then you came up with Glue Leg immediately. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll reach out to this band just to see if we can do this together. And it worked. It happened.
So cool. And fortuitous timing again, like they've got an album coming out. It's kind of a different sort of album. They're going back to a different lineup and just super cool. And I hate to sound like I'm plugging myself because I was on that episode, but it just was a really cool opportunity to sit and chat with someone who I really admire, like a Canadian talent that I'm like, oh, I love this guy. Like he's just so cool. And yeah, very, very cool.
It brings me joy when we can have moments like where I got the fact that you were going to be on the show and the band you wanted to talk to at the same time. I'm like, this is really exciting for me. So don't think it's anything bad. Before we move on too, I just want to tell people about It's a Conspiracy podcast. And do you want to just give them a little slice of info about your show?
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about it. So we what we do is we take a look at a conspiracy or an alternative account or a legend, myth, whatever, and we sort of deliver the straight up facts, and we try to keep our opinions out of it. So like, is the world flat? Is are we all slaves to like a reptile race of people? Stuff like that. And then in the end, we give our opinions on it. So we try to present the material. Rarely do we actually keep our opinions out. It's really hard for me in particular. But one of the things I always have to say is that I'm not a crackpot. I'm not crazy. It's you guys that are crazy. So anytime you have a conspiracy related thing, people are like, "Oh, are you a scary like nut job?" And I'm like, "No, I'm a normal guy. Just so we try to deliver it, and we just like talking about them. So we try to have like a very inclusive thing and talk about some craft beers. And we're a member of the Alberta Podcast Network, and they're really cool. So that's kind of another part of like unique Alberta talent. So shows like Bollywood is for Lovers or the Loyal Company, the River Valley, stuff like that. There's just really cool part of a little network of podcast friends that, like yourself, you get to meet these people, and it's like this is just such a unique platform for information. Listening and being entertained and engaging with people. It's really cool.
It's a good community. And one of my favorite things you ever talked about on your podcast was about, is Avril Lavigne actually dead and been replaced with another Avril?
That's a theory. That's a real theory. Yeah.
Well, there's the one episode that Naomi and I were on where we're talking about the whole like where karaoke originated from and all of the things that I had no idea about on whether they were true, but like the murders and everything.
The karaoke murders.
Yeah, it was
the My Way murders. That's right. There was a string of murders from people that were associated with the song My Way, including he didn't murder anybody, but or they didn't murder anybody. Excuse me. But Ezra Miller, apparently, when he was arrested in Hawaii, it was this lady singing My Way, and he's like, I hate this song, and he threw a chair at her. And it's just
people
karaoke.
are crazy about their karaoke. So
they're very serious about it.
Yeah.
Don't we know?
You should definitely check out that podcast, though, if any of this sounds interesting, because it is quite a good podcast. It's fun.
It's awesome.
Cool. We gotta get Jimmy on there sometime.
There's another question in the chat, too.
There's another question. First of all, hey, Ness. Good to see you, Ness. Where's the question?
I wrote it down because I saw it going by. I'm like, I will write this down for later. It's it's from the Meow Meow crew. That's a hard word for me. Meow Meow.
It's hard to get out. Meow Meow.
I haven't even been drinking, but they were asking if what would be one dream guest that we would all individually like to see on the show.
That is a great question.
Yeah.
Kendra, you should start.
I was gonna wait for you guys to start. Okay.
I already know what she's gonna say. Oh my goodness. I think.
Oh God. Like I'm trying to think, okay, 90s or just like my favorite people. There's so many of my favorite people I'd love to have on the show.
There's one you want for sure that kind of bleeds into the 90s a little bit, but it's more early 2000s.
Yeah, that would be Pink. We did an episode on Pink.
Cool.
She would be amazing. I think she'd be so cool to talk to. Like, yeah, all of the current people I love, Pink, Brandy Carlisle, Sarah Bareilles, I would love them, but they're not like super 90s. They're more 2000s. So if I had to be like legit in finding a 90s person, oh man, that's a hard question. There's so many people I love from back in that day. Oh, that's a hard one. Because it just depends on if you want to go down the band route or like
Don't
the
matter.
singer-songwriter.
Don't matter.
Holly McNarland, I still would love it if she would be on the show.
Ooh,
We did
I'm
an
sorry,
episode on
sorry
her.
to all our Americans. Like, who are these people?
Who are these
Who?
people? But like, if you haven't heard of Holly McNarland, like she was a great like Canadian artist back in the 90s, and she had some really fantastic music. And yeah, she was one of my favorites when I growing up. I'm glad that we did an episode on her, but I would totally love if she would come on the show and get to
Oh,
pick
for
her
sure.
brain on some of her songs, because she's got some like incredible songs.
What about Jimmy?
We did a podcast on this band, and you know who it is. As soon as you said '90s, John Schlitt from Petra,
Petra, the Christian rock
Christian rock
band.
band. And they are American too.
They are American. I did reach out to them, but I never heard anything. Sad. Oh well. Very sad. But you never know. People are busy, you know. What about you, Andrew?
You know, I was just thinking when you were talking about this here, and maybe you guys can think of who I'm trying to think of. But do you guys remember the show Street Sense that was on TV like in the early 90s? Yeah.
Yes.
And there was that guy that was kind of the breakaway star from that who had his own TV show for a little while. And he would like play different characters and he would do little voices and stuff like that. Like it was like Jonovision or something like that. He had a show.
Jonovision, Jonathan Torrance.
Was it Jonathan
yeah.
Torrance? Okay. So Jonathan Torrance would be someone who would be really fascinating because he just had so many facets to him. Like he was an actor, he was on the show. I think he's got either a YouTube thing or a podcast thing or something like that going on. And interesting guy. And seems really funny.
Mhm.
But he would be sort of my, like, we should talk to him. That'd be super cool. But I think, and maybe I hate to steal Naomi's choice, but I feel like the guest that needs to be on this show sooner rather than later is, of course, Donnie Wahlberg, right? Like, Donnie, what are we waiting for, buddy?
Yes.
Come on. Like,
Yes.
let's do this.
D-Dub.
And so many questions, and like fascinating guy. My first time watching The Masked Singer was with you guys, actually. I think Jimmy was there too during the lockdown and being like, what are you
We were
doing?
watching
It's
on
like a
Zoom.
Wednesday night or whatever. Like, you want to come and watch this show with us? I'd never seen it before. And it was the funniest thing ever. And he was there. I just loved it so much. So, I mean, that was just one more kind of like notch on my I love Donnie Wahlberg belt.
Gotta-
Yeah,
You
cool.
gotta love
Cool.
Donnie Wahlberg. It was
And he
funny.
should come and do the show.
It was funny watching that too, because that whole episode, I'm like, I swear it's Donnie's the chicken. That is Donnie.
You were right.
You knew it. Yeah, you knew it right away. That's almost like as fast as I knew Hanson was on the show. I listened to 3 words. I'm like, it's Hanson. I knew it. Couldn't convince me different.
Yes. What are those dolls called again? Those stacking Russian dolls?
The Russian dolls.
Yeah. It was totally Hanson. It was very obvious. You know
Yeah.
your stuff. But
I
that
do.
kind of segues into, of course, Johnny is my dream guest. He knows
yeah.
it. But one of my best moments for me of the year wasn't necessarily the guest itself. It was the fact that when I went on the New Kids on the Block cruise with all of these fine folks, many of these fine folks in the chat when we had at the time of our lives, is the fact that Donnie took the time to shout out this show on the Lido
Amazing.
deck in front of so many friends and people who never listened or knew about it. And I was shaking. I was almost in tears. I grabbed my friend Tracy and I'm like shaking. I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. I can't believe it. So yeah, the fact that
it's incredible.
I'd actually met him the night before at the after party on the boat on the first night. And I was kind of nervous, but I was like, I'm going to go walk up to him and introduce myself. So I said, hi, I'm Naomi from the Dope Nostalgia podcast. And he smiles at me and he takes my shoulders and he goes, I know, I listened to your show.
Oh, what? I love
And I
that.
was like,
Oh,
Like, how
really?
exciting.
what? He's like, yeah. Okay. So cool. Yeah, that was like a mind-blowing moment. So thank you, Donnie, for everything you did for me this year. And one day we'll get you on the show.
nice.
Another dream guest for me would probably be actually George Stroumboulopoulos. Now,
oh, good call.
Oh, that
He's
would
a
be a
Can-
great one.
he's a Canadian broadcasting legend. For those of you who don't know, you might have seen, especially in this chat, you might have seen an interview on YouTube on George's show on CBC. I forgot the name of his Strombo's show, but he interviews Jordan Knight, and it's like the best interview Jordan's probably ever done. But yeah, Strombo, fantastic. I can't imagine interviewing him. He's like one of the greatest interviewers, I think, in Canadian broadcast history.
Oh man, he was one of my favorites from Much Music for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Back in the day.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be quite a get. And then getting somebody like Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, of
But-
course.
But trying to convince her to talk about the night, like before Jagged Little Pill, that
Yeah.
would probably be a challenge. But I would love to get her to talk about her pop career before,
Oh, it'd be so
before Jagged Little
interesting
Pill.
to hear about it.
I wonder if, yeah, like I don't know if that was big in the States or what, but her like when she was just Alanis and it was kind of an electronic thing. Like it's a weird thing when you listen to it, right? Isn't it? It's very different than her like Jagged Little Pill and everything subsequently. Yeah.
Oh yeah, when Jagged Little Pill came out, I was like, "Holy shit, that's her!" What? And I was like, "This is amazing!" And of course, it ended up becoming one of those albums that like all of us young ladies were really into, and it was inspiring. So, yeah,
We
she
even
killed
did
it
an
in the
episode
'90s.
we even did an episode on Jagged Little Pill.
We sure
Yeah.
did, and I think we did it this year too, last year.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Mikey says, "Kendra, I think it's that time."
Uh-oh.
That time,
What does that
I'll do a
mean?
shot of tea for you, Mikey.
I got a shot of water. Woo.
I'm still on pain meds. Naomi and I both had surgery within a week of each other, so
We are the broken. Half of us
Mhm.
in this podcast are broken, but we're getting better. Yes, we got some
Mhm.
Jordan love in the comments. All right, so moving on to the second half of the show, I wanted to play a game with you guys. This or that, basically. I have a whole list of 90 centric things that I would like you to choose which is your favorite and why. So we could do this two ways. We could do it where each of you answer to the same question, or, just be like, this one's for you, this one's for you, this one's for you. What would you guys prefer?
what's more fun?
Us all having an opinion?
We all have to yell out at the same time, and then you. Have
Oh
to
no,
see
we
if
should
you're
probably take turns. Much as it's fun to yell, it might be a little clearer what we're saying.
Let's
if we're
make
like,
this stressful for our listeners.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're just yelling at each other.
Maybe
Yeah.
just one
We'll
at
have
a
a
time.
rotation.
One at a time.
We'll have
Yeah.
a rotation. Kendra, Jimmy, Andrew, because that's the way I see you in the windows.
Okay.
No. All right. So here we go. And in our chat room, I want you guys to please feel free to give your answers to these questions too, because I think it'll be really fun to see what you guys have to say. Be creative, do whatever. I love it. Okay. First one, we're going to start with Kendra. If you have to choose this or that, Whitney or Mariah?
Oh, hands down, I pick Whitney.
Whitney.
Oh, what?
Yeah, hands down for me.
Why is that?
They're both incredible. Don't get me wrong. I think Mariah is incredible. I'm like, how am I going to say this and not sound like an asshole? I feel like Whitney, she mastered the art of like less is more. Like she really knew how to pick her moments to really like use her agility and her ability to like showcase her voice. I sometimes found like Mariah was like, she's really, really hard to sing because she makes it almost impossible to follow her melody lines. If I'm being completely honest.
It's
I
really
do
hard
love
to
both of them.
It's really hard to
But-
replicate Mariah Carey.
Yeah,
It's
it
really
is.
hard.
But like,
Yeah.
they're both incredible artists. But yeah, if I had to pick one, Whitney would be it.
Jimmy.
I'd go with Whitney too.
Yeah.
She has a very powerful voice, but the movie Bodyguard came out in the 90s, where that song she did, you could feel it in the movie as well in the song, like the feeling in the song
Mhm.
that she portrayed in the movie, which really was a clincher for me. Like, because you could feel it in both
Did you say
spots. right?
clincher or clencher?
I don't know.
I'm
That-
picturing some butt clenching for some reason.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or clencher?
Glitch.
think
It was
it's a
more like
glitcher.
it was more like a cruncher.
A cruncher.
Crunch. Crunch. Thank you. I like that, Jimmy. That's good. What about you, Andrew?
You know, I do love Whitney. I just and I really like The Bodyguard, but I gotta say, just the sheer talent of Mariah Carey. Like, she is a like a generational talent, and I think I might like the music of Whitney Houston more, but just the like vocal wise, like she is Mariah Carey's just it there's just no real like people like Freddie Mercury, they come along once in a while, people like Mariah Carey, it's just generational talents, and it's impossible to kind of compare them to other human beings. So but I get, like, I do get it. And Whitney Houston, if I'm thinking it, it really is kind of, she might be the more casual listening of the two, like, whereas Mariah Carey is more like, you better sit down and listen to this because I'm going to put on like a master class for you here.
True.
I do got to say, one of the things I love about Whitney Houston is that in the early 90s, she actually sued the animated series of the X-Men because she thought that the theme song, the like, she claimed that was ripped off of her song, like Be My Baby Tonight, or I'm Your Baby Tonight.
I'm your
something like
baby
that.
tonight.
Yeah, this was a big deal. So, and I was like, I love Bodyguard, but like, I was like, Whitney, if you take X-Men off TV, like, you're going to lose a fan right here. So I was okay with it because it didn't happen, but I really do love both of them. But I think vocally, yeah, Mariah Carey is probably
There's a lot in the
Yeah.
chat that people are agreeing with the Whitney. There's a couple Mariah.
Whitney's
fans
winning
as well.
this one.
Yeah.
Whitney's definitely winning this one. And it's funny, Ratel even says Whitney. That can't be Chris answering. That's got to be Adrian. But yeah, yes. I would pick Mariah because, not because of, I think, any less of Whitney. I love them both equally, but Mariah was more of an influence on me. I saw her first really because, like, she was on the Arsenio Hall show, and that was a show I watched religiously. I should have been in bed as a child, but I'm a night owl, so I'd stay up and watch Arsenio, and that's where brand new singer. She's just come out with this new song, "Vision of Love." Here's Mariah Carey, and I'm hearing her for the first time, and the whistle tones and everything, and I'm like, oh, that's one of the people who made me want to be a singer. So
Yeah.
that's why I picked Mariah. Yeah.
Both are awesome. Awesome.
They are. They really are. Like, it's, you know.
Shout out to Phil M in the chat. Phil and Crystal, welcome. Carla's there. Hi, Carla. Good to see you again. So thank you guys for being a part of our episode today. I'm going to move on to the next this or that. We'll start with Kendra once again. Bryan Adams or Bruce Springsteen?
Ooh. I'd have to go with Bryan Adams personally.
Yes.
I like both as well, but I think just sheerly based on like songwriting abilities alone, Bryan Adams has put out so many fantastic songs and melody lines. Like, that guy can write a hook for days. So that's my choice.
Jimmy.
Part of my answer is because I'm tainted.
You are
because-
tainted.
because I'm in radio, and all like, we play so much Bryan Adams because of the forced Canadian content that we have to play all the time. Like, he's a hell of a singer, but you know, terrestrial radio here in Canada plays way too much and not enough Bruce. Like, I know one of my first, like, I bought the Tunnel of Love cassette, Bryan Adams, when I was a kid. Like, would save my allowance money to buy it.
Tunnel of Love is Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You said Bryan Adams. Did you not?
No, I mean, no. I said, but that's why
Oh.
But we
I'm
don't
sorry.
play. We don't play enough Bruce Springsteen because one of my favorite. And then, you know, Born in the USA. Yeah, we play too much, Bryan. It's just,
That all boils down to CanCon rules.
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry.
Nope, that's a fair answer because you probably play Bryan Adams like once an hour.
Pretty much.
Pretty close. Andrew.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Jimmy on this one because it's almost like radio in Canada is like, well, we've only got Bryan Adams for like male singers, so we better play him like every 6 minutes, or we're gonna get shut down. Like, I don't get it, and I guess I like Bryan Adams a lot, and I like the way he could have retired a long time ago. Like, he's still doing it, he's still looking great, he's still writing songs, he's still performing. He doesn't need to do any of this, and he's an interesting talent. He's got a really interesting story. The whole connection with him and Tina Turner is like super cool.
Mhm.
I mean, I love a solid Canadian success story, but Bruce Springsteen, it's just iconic in a number of ways. As a solo guy, as a band leader, as a kind of a political activist, I think he's, if I may, he's got more to say than Bryan Adams, who's just kind of like, I love you, baby. Why don't you love me back? Come on, let's go live in the woods or whatever. Bruce Springsteen has like real things to say. And Bryan Adams always in some Ewok village coming down a rope ladder and somebody's like, oh, I love you, or walking around with the Spice Girls. I guess it just isn't my jam so much. But Bruce Springsteen, I'm like, when that guy, like when he passes away, I think Americans like or dislike him will be like, it'll be like it was like with the Canadians losing Gord Downie from the Tragically Hip. It's like, you might not be a Tragically Hip fan, but this is like our Canadian guy. Like maybe more so than Neil Young. Like Gord Downie was like the Canadian kind of like, we're all sort of upset about it.
Mhm.
And I think when Bruce Springsteen does pass away, the Americans will have a similar reaction. Not that I can really speak for the US, but like this was one of the voices of a generation, like truly unique talent to them. And he's just a solid rock star. Like, he's so awesome.
Yeah, that's a really good take on it. And I look at it that way too, where it's like Bruce is more of the lyricist. He's telling more good stories about the working man and the everyday struggles that people have. Brian's more like an escapism type of lyricist,
That's a fair. Yeah, absolutely. And it just depends on what you're in the mood for, right?
Yes, equals frivolous. Frivolous good times with Brian. But Brian's closer to my heart, so I pick Brian. I'll keep it simple. Yeah. In the chat, we got it pretty split here.
Yeah, it's pretty
there's some
split,
strong
yeah.
Bruce sentiment in the chat, of course. And I totally love that. I do. I think that's wonderful. I did have a Bruce Springsteen tape back in the day too. Back in the day.
Tape.
I had a tape. Y'all had a tape.
If there's any listeners that were born like, late 90s, early 2000s, probably don't even know what a tape is.
Oh, yeah.
If you say tape too, saying tape is kind of weird. It's like saying, well, actually, we do that all the time because we still say, hey, did you tape that? Did you record that? Did you tape that? I wonder if younger people would say that at all. I got to pay more attention to that.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys taped Joey Joe last night at Carnegie Hall, okay? I want to see your tape. Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the next one, starting with Kendra, Blink 182 or Green Day.
Oh. Ah, man, that one's a tough one.
Folks, let us know what you think.
Oh,
I think I'm gonna have to go with Green Day on this one. I like them both, and I like them both almost equally, but
Yeah.
I think for songs I like more of their stuff, I think that Green Day would probably be it for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I'm watching the chat too, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
this is great. Michelle is offended. She knows what an 8-track is, okay?
What year were you born, though, Michelle?
This is a safe space. You can tell us. Jimmy, Blink or Green Day?
I almost want to say Blink, but I also love the story of the band and some of the members of the band, like Tom DeLonge kind of quitting the band to search for UFOs, do his own little it's a conspiracy theory kind of thing, like trying to prove because he's the guy. He's got an organization that deals with trying to extraterrestrial research and stuff like that. And so, I think just their story is kind of cool.
I like that. Andrew.
Hands down, Green Day. It's not even close. Blink 182 everything about them. I don't like the sound. I don't like the songs. I've never understood the appeal. And the one thing I don't like about them is that there was one time where they were hacking on. I think they were making fun of the Backstreet Boys, but they were like, these boys, and like they're just like this like put together group, and they're just looking a certain way and dressing a certain way just to like appeal to a certain demographic. And I'm like, you guys are doing that exact same thing. Like you were doing the exact same thing, right?
Mhm.
There's really, yes, okay, you kind of got. I don't even like calling it punk. You've got a punk-esque kind of sound, but like their image, their videos, everything was like totally finely honed to appeal to a certain demographic. Green Day are real punks, and one of the things I love about them is that they totally go outside of the punk genre. Like when Billy Joe Armstrong made that album with Nora Jones, it was all like the Everly Brothers songs. I feel like I'm getting that information
that's
wrong.
Cool. I don't
No,
know.
I
don't
remember
know
him
that.
doing that. Like, yeah, he was singing
Yeah.
like duets with her. Yeah.
Beautiful and just incredible, and like they continue to be as good, and they're consistent, and they're like true to their message, and I just kind of love everything about them. Like I'm a fan, so I'm super biased, but I think in particular Billy Joe Armstrong is like just a really fascinating person who's gigantically successful, but he's still kind of like honest as an artist.
Mhm.
And yeah, very cool. Yeah, I Blink 182, I could go the rest of my life and never hear them and be like, yep, happy stuff. But
Maybe
Green Day,
Blink-
I'll listen to them all the time.
Maybe Blink was pissed because Backstreet Boys. No, they intimidated. Who did they impersonate? BSB impersonated them,
What is
or the other
Backstreet-
way around?
No, it's the other. Blink did like a parody of their
Of the "I Want It That Way" video.
I Want It That Way video. Yeah.
That's what it was.
See, that's what I'm talking about. But like, aside from they are the same kind of product, right? Like they're like,
Well,
ugh, yucky.
if
Yuck.
you insult a boy band, you're gonna have trouble with me.
Yeah, right. And leave the Backstreet Boys
I'm gonna
alone.
kick
Like,
your fucking
yeah.
ass. That's right. I said it.
Yeah. So Naomi picks Green Day as well.
I totally pick Green Day regardless.
Yeah.
Even if Blink, fuck.
Yeah.
Blink songs are annoying to me. I don't
super
know.
annoying.
Yeah.
I just find
Yeah.
them cheesy and lame and shit.
There's certain songs I do like by them, but in terms of just like just the sound of Green Day, I like better. And also like the topics that they also talk about in their songs as well.
Green
you
Day,
know.
better songs, way better
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
100%. All right, and then in our chat. Oh boy,
It's
We
looking pretty
had-
solid
I'm
there.
sorry, Michelle. I gotta say, I think Green Day is winning. I think
Yeah.
Michelle's the one who said Blink, right? But yeah, I don't know. I don't get the appeal of Blink. Okay, let's go try something different here. Blockbuster versus Rogers Video.
Oh,
Do they have Rogers Video in the U.S.? I don't think so. I don't
Oh,
think.
man.
I'm sorry to the Americans out there. Rogers is a huge conglomerate corporation in Canada that tries to own all of our telecommunications, basically.
yeah.
But back in the day, they started off as a video store, correct? That's where
Yeah.
the origin was. So
I think
Kendra,
so.
Blockbuster versus Rogers.
Blockbuster, hands down for me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where I went all the time. Granted, I did live like a block and a half away from one, so it was easy to walk to, but
Mm.
yeah, definitely Blockbuster was my go-to.
hmm
I 100% Blockbuster. There was more Blockbuster videos, at least in Tabor, or
I was gonna say, was there a Blockbuster in Tabor?
I think there was for a short period of time, but there was a lot of smaller videos. But I know, I was a Blockbuster guy.
Yes. And Andrew.
Oh, Blockbuster, 100%. I don't even know if I grew up in Grand Prairie, which is like I mean, I know we all know, but at the time when I was a kid, it was a smaller community in northern Alberta, and we didn't even have a Rogers.
Mhm.
But Blockbuster, like the one that was like we don't have late fees anymore. Like keep it a couple extra days if you need to. And they always had like the newest stuff, and it was no comparison. Like they were huge. I feel bad for them. I think they should have jumped on the Netflix thing, and they could have still been around today. But you know, c'est la vie.
That's true. There's a whole documentary about how they missed that ship.
Yeah.
How Netflix came out of nowhere and just ruined everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Mikey says Rogers now owns 75% of Canadian communications.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary to think. Earlier in 2022, we had a weekend where Rogers crashed.
Oh
and
yeah.
and almost every debit machine and ATM machine in Canada runs through the Rogers telecommunications, so nobody could get money, nobody could make purchases. It was a nightmare, and it was just goes to show that you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
It was frightening.
I remember when that happened. It's like nobody could pay for anything, and it's like, now what do we do?
If I had
And it was like not even a full day. Like if it had been 2 days, I think we would have been like in like Mad Max territory, like cannibalism.
been savage.
It would have. It was not even 24 hours, and we were like at each other's throats. We're like, this is
Words and everything.
yeah.
in the chat, I love it. There's a lot of Blockbuster love in the chat. If I had a liquor bottle right now, we'd be pouring one out. Let's pour one out for Blockbuster, folks.
Yeah.
But don't really pour it out. Just pretend to, because you gotta
Put it in your mouth.
Just drink that. Pour it out in your mouth. Yeah.
There was another one too. I used to go to. I remember Video Update.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my goodness, I remember that. Video
Yeah, that was
update. Was it a
Yeah.
red letter sign?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Holy shit, you just mind blown me. Video update.
Yeah, they were always in like convenience store locations and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that was my jam too. Yeah,
To Canada.
absolutely. And the ones that had like free popcorn. Like, come on, man.
Right.
That's how you get me every single time. Give me a
There
little
was-
bag of popcorn on my way in.
There was something
Yeah.
about Blockbuster that made it an experience just going there. That was fun. Getting your candy and getting your movie. And I don't know, it was just like you're preparing for like the best night ever. You know?
Mhm.
So I give up props to Blockbuster for creating that kind of environment. Yeah, I think it's a winner. Okay,
Yeah.
how about Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh? Has that
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh? Am I saying it wrong?
Yu-Gi-Oh.
folks? Yu-Gi-Oh?
Is it Yu-Gi-Oh? I think so.
Well, you know
Well, we
which
know
one
that
I'm
she's
gonna pick.
picking Pokemon because she can say that one.
Yes. So yeah,
I
Pokemon or
definitely-
Yu-Gi-Oh?
I'm definitely a Pokemon one. I never really got into Yu-Gi-Oh.
I obviously don't even know what the fuck it is because I can't say it.
So we already know your answer.
Yeah, you could have picked Pogs. That's easier to say.
Oh,
Oh, Pogs. I love Pogs.
Pokemon or Pogs would have made. Fuck, let's just change it.
No sense.
Pokemon or Pogs?
Oh God. Okay. Then I would pick Pogs.
Yeah, were you a
Yeah.
Pogs player?
Oh hell yeah! I had a whole book. I got rid of a few years back. I still had it, and I had all of my like specialty Pogs and my slammers. I had the shredder slammers. Like I yeah, I was
See,
a big player back then.
Kendra's the youngest in our thing here, so like Kendra experienced that. She was still playing at that age.
Yeah.
I might have been already drinking at that age. Kendra's like, let's go outside and play Pogs. I love it. I was playing marbles, okay, back in the day. Marbles. That was the shit. Jimmy, what about you? Pokemon or Pogs?
I didn't do either
No.
because I'm kind of the exact opposite of Kendra. I'm the oldest one in this group, and I was drinking during this time, so like I never did. I know my siblings did, but I really didn't get into any of them.
Tinker Toys. That was you. Remember that shit?
No, Tinker Toys and Lego. I was big
Yeah.
in them.
That was the
Yeah.
stuff. Andrew?
I Pokemon, like hands down by far,
Pokemon.
like far and away. Pogs, I never really got it, but I also like Pokemon. Like I'm still into Pokemon. My daughter's in Pokemon. She's like become like a Pokemon master, and I'm just
Your daughter's
love
my
it so
friend
much.
on Pokemon Go. I
Yeah,
like that.
that's right. You guys are
Oh,
oh.
We send each
yeah.
other gifts.
And it's the cool thing about Pokemon is like it just kind of just does not stop developing and appealing, and it's like really fun and really visual and like really really cool, and while being like pure of heart, like there's no, you know, like there's no gross stuff. It's just a
Yeah,
good
it's
show.
Good,
Yeah.
clean fun.
The I always, like I've told you guys before, I somehow manage a way to sneak this into every conversation I'm in, but I lived in Japan for a couple of years.
Living the
And I swear
dream.
I'm not trying to like just do this, but Pokemon, I didn't realize until I was in Japan that Pokemon was, people are like, oh, that's an English word. And I'm like, no, it isn't. And they're like, oh yeah, no, totally. It's an English word. It means pocket monster. And I'm like,
Mm.
I did not know that. And then, so at the time I was wondering like, what about like Bakugan or Yu-Gi-Oh? And I guess Yu-Gi-Oh, it means like some kind of king, like a game king or a playing king or whatever. But Pokemon, it just always kind of cracked me up. They're like, yeah, that's English. You know that. I'm like, I know what the words pocket monster mean, but Pokemon is a unique abbreviation to Japanese.
Is Yogi?
But yeah,
Whatever that thing is, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah.
Is it the Wish version of Pokemon?
It's, I don't know. It's kind of like a GoBots, Voltron, Power Rangers thing where it's like a similar idea that it kind of gets, I mean, really, I don't want to get the hate, but they're kind of the same thing. You know, just one's sort of better than the other, but like variations on the same idea. You can still go and get Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but
Yeah.
like save your money, get some Pokemon cards instead. Like be part of the winning team. You know what I mean?
Make the
Come
right
on.
choice.
Michelle
Yeah.
in the chat was asking if there's any Garbage Pail Kids.
Where are those Garbage Pail Kids?
Oh,
Don't watch
gross.
that
I'm
movie.
like,
Don't
I
watch
was-
that
It made
movie.
me think of when we watched it with the Bad Movie Club.
We have a bad movie club. In case I think we've mentioned it before, but we
Ugh,
watched that movie. It was fucked right up. It was.
it's so gross.
You know what I remember the most out of that movie? The snot.
It's so much snot. Just
Everywhere.
So much
barrels.
snot. Ugh.
It was just a lot of bodily fluids coming out of different orifices.
Carla says, I don't know about this, but was it Pokemon when people were running around with their phones finding them? Yes.
That was Pokemon Go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the few players left.
Nice.
I still play 6 years later. It's fun. I enjoy it. It's good. It's good. Harmless
Naomi
fun
and
as
I
long as you
went
don't
on a
walk into
walk.
traffic.
Yeah.
Naomi and I went on a walk this summer. She got me into playing it again.
But we not only did we go on a walk, but we went to the liquor store at first and put
And then
drinks in
we
our.
grabbed drinks. We were pretending we were
I'm like-
16 again. We got liquor and walked around a park, played Pokemon.
I'm sitting here going, how do I drink and catch Pokemon at the same time? I only have two hands. It's very hard.
I had one in my pocket and then drinking with the other one.
Nice. But that's what straws are for. Put it down, use your hands, you know?
Yeah.
That's right, Rattail. It's so bad that it's so good. Yes, that's what the movie club's about. We watched the worst shit ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's so good. Okay. I'm glad you guys are still here hanging on with us. I hope you're having a good time. Thank you for being in the chat today as well. How are you guys doing for time? Because I know it's almost an hour, but I still got more of these for you. I got
Oh,
more of
I'm
these.
still good.
Yeah, I got a few more.
Good? Okay.
I'm good for a couple more.
Okay. Cool. Let's go. South Park or Family Guy? Kendra.
South Park. South Park. Yeah.
And why is it?
I never really got into Family Guy that much, but South Park was definitely like, reminds me of watching that when I was younger, and definitely the one I went to. So it's got the nostalgic factor, and I like the jokes more. Yeah.
It's hard to believe it's still on the air.
It's
It's
crazy.
crazy. It's crazy.
I was 18 when it came out. And I remember saying to my friends, like, you guys got to watch this. I can't believe they get away with this on TV. It's amazing. Jimmy, South Park or Family Guy?
South Park annoys me, so I'd have to say Family Guy.
Why? Why does it annoy you?
I don't know. Like I think like the whole Family Guy thing is a bunch bunch of dudes just drinking beer, having fun, and the other is the voices of the kids from South Park make me want to play in traffic.
Really? I love Cartman's voice. That's what makes him so,
So
funny.
funny.
When he sings a song and it's like, it's amazing. Andrew,
Yeah, no, I do. South Park are kind of more of a cultural marker. I feel like they really came out at a time when it was like a true challenge to sort of something that The Simpsons had a real hold on. A Family Guy, they just kind of keep trying to get more and more like, they think it's offensive, but it's like, this really isn't. Like, you're just kind of like, oh, it's an animated character doing something that's kind of cringy. But like South Park, it's amazing how they will have like a political issue, and then like that Saturday, like days later, they've come out with something to talk about it. And it's not like Saturday Night Live where it's a live thing and someone can just say something. Like they've gone into production on this. It's not the best production, and it probably only takes them a day or two to make an episode, but yeah. And I really do think that I think Matt Stone and Trey Parker I always get their names mixed up. Is it Matt Parker and Trey Stone? I never remember who's which.
it's Trey Parker
I think it's
and
Trey
Matt
Parker.
Stone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are really funny, and I think another reason South Park wins is because the movie Basketball just was so funny. And I just loved it. And like Team America, I love that they did
I love
that.
Team
Like
America.
and Family Guy, it's like the dog's got a boner. Uh-oh, what are we gonna do? Like it's not really, it doesn't really comment on things. But I gotta say, like, I'm old and I don't really watch either of them, but yeah, South Park for the win. And I love Blame Canada. That's so funny.
There's a lot of Canadian references on South Park, which I just
Yeah.
absolutely love. My favorite time ever was when I was watching it and they were like, we've got to go meet down by the tree in Edmonton. And I was like, holy shit, they said Edmonton. I like calling everybody or texting everybody. I'm like, fuck, what's South Park? But also like South Park. What was I going to say? Shit, I totally lost. I'm looking at the chat too.
It's hard not to watch the chat. Yeah.
South Park is pretty brilliant, and they even have an episode where they make fun of Family Guy and how it's written. They basically say that South Park or Family Guy is written by manatees in a factory. Like manatees are like in an aquarium, and they pick idea balls with words on them and just throw them into like a chute, and then the writers of Family Guy just take these idea balls and put them all together and make. That reminds me of the time when it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I could
South Park
honestly I could
rips on
see
Family
that.
Guy. Yeah, but true. So it looks like we have more South Park coming up in the chat than there's a few Family Guys. Crystal's all Family Guy.
Family Guy is
Sonya's
funny.
all
Like, there's no
Family Guy
doubt about
fan.
it. And it's probably just about as old as South Park, I would imagine. It feels like it's, I don't know when they
Yeah.
debuted, but
I feel like Family Guy came out very close to the end of the 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. But yeah, thanks guys for putting your opinions out there. Okay, here, how about Nintendo versus PlayStation?
oh,
Ooh.
saucy.
Kendra.
I was never really big into video games much at all, but the ones I was into back in the day was Nintendo games, so I have to go with Nintendo.
Okay. Jimmy.
I'm the same. I grew up on Nintendo. It was like we had everything from Super Mario Brothers to Zelda to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy had a PlayStation, and it was not. I didn't find it as fun
Yeah. I
because
feel
there's
like-
so many,
Go ahead. Sorry.
there's so many cool games with the Nintendo back in the day. And you can play with everybody in your family, not just the game, like the people that like to play video games. You can play anything. Like, yeah.
That's true. Nintendo had a broader appeal. Not just for gamers. not just hardcore gamers.
It's true. Yeah, there's a lot of like just like kind of fun, and that's the thing. I was never into those games that like took forever and had like the big storyline. You know, my ADD brain couldn't sit there long enough to figure those things out. I'm like, give me something quick that I can play, and then in an hour when I get bored of this and I want to go do something else, I can do that.
It's all about Mario, man.
Mario, yep, 100%.
What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, Nintendo, they're like game changing. Like there's just no real comparison. PlayStation is cool, but I don't like the controller. And but I like Nintendo just keeps changing the game all the time. And one of the things I like about them is that they're really cool about changing the. I'm not sure how to put this. Like the console that you use. Like they'll be like, okay, we have a little controller like A, B, up, down, select, start, and then they've got the Wii, and then they've got they've got the Switch. And I don't know if the Nintendo 64 controller with like the triggers and the little top buttons, if that was out before the PlayStation, but that was also like a big kind of like when the Nintendo 64 came out. Or like I just saw someone in the chat there, like the Duck Hunt, like the the light gun, which I don't think Nintendo created, but like they always were like changing the way that you could play games.
Yeah.
And like my kids and I, we play Switch, and
so
it's
bad.
the Power Glove. Oh, come on, that was
Now you're playing with power.
absolutely. I had a kid in junior high. He wore that to school one day. He was mocked ruthlessly for that.
I'd be
He
like, you're
wore
the
a Power
coolest
Glove to
person
school.
I've ever met.
In my heart, I was like, I'm not going to say, and I didn't make fun of him, but I was like, I know why you're wearing that, but you shouldn't have. But like, I get it. Yeah. I think he thought he was like Thanos. He was like, well, you think that's funny? And he's going to like make everybody like disappear. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's
Nintendo all the way.
There's a
Nintendo's
few
the winner.
Duck Hunt references.
Yeah, you guys got the Power Pad. The Power Pad is a great reference too.
Oh,
But I tell
Oh,
you,
yeah.
like that Duck Hunt, unreal. That was that dog laughing at you every time you miss. That
Oh.
bastard. I
I
still.
wanted to shoot him.
The little noise when you like shoot one of the ducks. That's my text message notification sound.
It
Is the
is.
Duck Hunt.
Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys had heard, but you can't play Duck Hunt on today's TVs. You can only play Duck Hunt on a tube television because it's actually the TV itself that sends the signal to the gun.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
What? Wow.
If I'm wrong, tell me. You guys tell me. But this is something
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. This whole time I've had the participants window up in the screen. That's fine. Nobody cares. Here, I'll close it. There, that's better. A little late. Okay. So yes. Here's another one. Operation versus Mousetrap.
Ooh.
For you board game
Oh.
lovers. Operation
I-
versus Mousetrap.
I didn't as a kid I didn't own Mousetrap. I owned Operation, but
Mm.
if I had to choose between the two of them, I'd probably pick Mousetrap. Because I used to get really frustrated with Operation.
Operation just gave me anxiety at a young age.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Freak me right out.
I think I startled very easily. I feel like maybe it's because of that game.
Was it testing us
PTSD.
or training us for something?
Yeah, apparently.
I liked Operation.
Yeah?
That like the anxiety of not hitting the edge, and then also if you're playing it with your siblings and bouncing the table so you do hit the edge,
Mhm.
keeps you aware of your surroundings and caused a lot of fights between me and my brother. Good old days.
Yeah.
Just
I-
stresses
I-
you out, so you start beating each other.
There's nothing quite as entertaining as being shocked in that game. Like it still has that factor. I got that game for my kids. We were playing a couple times, and my daughter was like, I don't like this game. It's too, because you get that like, and it's like it. straight up, even though it's not going into your hand, like it's like a plastic thing that you're holding onto, but you feel it like in your heart.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, I failed. And you let the poor guy die because you didn't get the toilet out of his stomach or whatever it was. So it's just such a great game. It's such a clever concept, and I love that zap sound. Yeah.
It's nostalgic.
Rattail says Operation owes us all an apology.
Just a cultural apology. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, all the stress and anxiety. That's funny. I'm gonna go with Mousetrap. Mousetrap because the whole the whole thing, like triggering another thing. It was so cool.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it just didn't work right. Like I'd screw it up building it. But the funny thing about that game is I don't even know what the gameplay was. I don't even know what I didn't read the instructions. Not like I don't even know how to play the game. I just set up the damn thing and then kept setting off the ball and watching it. Honestly,
It's true.
I don't know what
I
the
don't even know what
instructions
the game
were.
was. Yeah, I never actually played it like that. I would just set it up and like let it go.
Do its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really funny. Like you never tried it.
I don't even
Yeah.
know how to play it. Not a clue. But I did want
It was more complicated, more cerebral. Operations like take it out. That was it.
Yeah.
just get it done. Yeah. Oh, I love you guys. These comments are great. Carla wanted to get into healthcare as a young girl, so she loved Operation.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Makes
That's cool.
sense. Makes sense.
And that's how real operations are. Like that's how real surgeries go. Like you get the shocks and everyone's laughing and the doctor's like, oh, whoops.
And you get that tiny little tweezer to pull like
Yeah.
bones out. It's very accurate.
Hmm. That's how babies come out. A pair of tweezers.
They're both
I think. I'm not
outside
sure.
It's true. It's then the shapes their heads all funny and yeah. That's how it happens. Okay. Got a few more of these. How about in the clothing department? Overalls versus parachute pants.
Ooh. Hands down for me, it was overalls. I wore those
Overalls?
things all the time.
Did you
Yeah.
ever wear them backwards? Oh,
I did
you were
not,
too young.
but I had the one strap that was off. I had the one strap thing going on.
Yes, you had to with like a crop top or something underneath.
Yeah, I was more of a t-shirt gal, but yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy, overalls or parachute pants?
I could wear neither, so it's sort of hard to say because they're too much modification for the fact that I'm so like even like with the overalls, how high they like the body. So if yeah, and then the parachute pants. If you hem my pants down, they have no more parachute. So
Yeah.
so I could wear neither.
Oh, well, it's understandable. And
Yeah. I never got into either. I hate to be that boring guy, but yeah, the overalls thing, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. There was a couple guys at my school that were wearing them, and I'm like, this. I had farmers in my family. I'm like, what? And the parachute pants, I think I might have tried on a pair at once, and I was like, this looks ridiculous. So, you know, I mean, I look ridiculous in whatever I wear, anyways. But like I was just like, this is maybe too much.
This didn't make you feel like a fashion icon? No. Okay.
No, but it immediately made me think of what was that color? The stuff that would change, like ultra color or something like that.
Hypercolor.
Hypercolor, yeah.
Mhm.
So I did make the mistake one time of wearing a hypercolor shirt, and like I'm kind of a big sweaty guy. I realize how attractive that sounds, and I got this like heat stripe down right down my spine, and people were like, "What's going on there?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just really hot down my spine." And so it was just this long heat mark down my spine that just, I'm glad they never made hypercolor pants. I'll just leave it at that. So yeah,
Was
that's my thoughts
hypercolor a
on it.
thing in the US, guys?
oh, it had to be a thing.
It was funny because like they were a very short-lived fashion trend because people were like getting just hot in the armpit and it would just be like
Mhm.
colored under the armpit, and then they were like, I don't like this. So that trend didn't last that long. But yeah. I've
Jimmy has
wanted
a
to get-
hypercolor speedo, I think, don't you?
Not anymore.
Not-
I burned it.
That way you can make sure your junk's at the right temperature.
That's the only problem is when you wear the ones that change color and you're stripping. Yeah, it's could be stressful.
There's a whole lot of neither in the chat where they're like, no, I don't want either. Neither
Yeah.
overalls nor parachute pants. But I know some of these girls know a boy who looked really good in those overalls with no shirt. Anyway, yeah,
Oh,
they know what I'm talking about. Okay, should I go for a Canadian centric one here again?
Sure.
sure.
Friendly Giant versus Mr. Dress Up.
Oh.
You guys
I love
get on your
it.
you Americans get on your Wikipedia for this one. This is
Man.
like
I was Mr. Dress Up all the way.
Ugh.
That was one of my favorite shows as a kid.
mhm. Annie
I
knows
do
what was
remember
talking
the
about.
Friendly Giant, but yeah, I was definitely Mr. Dress Up.
Mr. Dress
I
Up.
have to say Friendly Giant because I don't know why. Like it's just how when the Friendly Giant says we'll
Look
all
up.
call Rusty, look up and we'll
Way
all
up.
call Rusty. I still say it. Like I still say when I'm looking up and look way up and we'll all call Rusty. It's just something that I still is ingrained into my brain.
Yes, yes. It is something that's ingrained in my brain too. That does pop into my head from time to time. Andrew?
Yeah, I love the Friendly Giant so much. I loved like his little rooster buddy that would show up sometimes, and the giraffe and everything. Like, it was so much fun.
Jerome and Rusty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Mr. Dress Up, like I still I teach art now, and every single time we go to draw something, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not Mr. Dress Up. Like I should not be doing this. And like his drawing in particular was just so seamless. He'd be like, look, I'm gonna draw a little face, and it would be like this amazing thing. And I loved how he had like little buddies that would show up, like little
Mhm.
puppet animals, and it always kind of cracked me up that Casey, I think, was the kid,
Yep.
and Finnegan was the dog.
Yeah.
So Casey could talk, but his mouth wouldn't move. Finnegan couldn't talk, but his mouth could move, and he would just like whisper things, and Casey would like translate it into English and be like, "Oh, he said he's got a ruptured spleen or whatever." Like there was always like some kind of conversation happening, and I just always kind of love that.
Talking about a
Let's
ruptured
explain what a
spleen.
ruptured spleen is, kids.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Dress Up was very similar to Mr. Rogers, but it was like
Dress Up got
Mr.
his start on Mr. Rogers.
He did. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they called him Mr. Dress Up because he had the tickle trunk, which
The tickle
sounds
trunk!
like sounds like some kind of like horrible, inappropriate nightmare thing. Like, oh, let's what's in the tickle trunk, kids? And he
That's why they let us watch it with something called the tickle trunk, but it's
It
totally
does.
innocent, y'all.
it is innocent. Yeah, it sounds like something from like a kinky place, but yeah, he had costumes in his tickle trunk, and he'd be like, oh,
I think-
whatever. He'd be a dinosaur or something like
I think
that. It
there
was
is
really
a
cool.
store here in Edmonton that like is like a kink store that goes by the tickle trunk or something like that.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah, it's
sued
an
by the
online
CBC.
store.
We're taking you down. Yeah. Oh, well, Rebecca says the Friendly Giant. Rebecca, have you seen the Friendly Giant? That,
I only
that
got
would
one
be
person who
amazing if you
Oh
have.
man.
Yes. Yes. She was thinking of the spinach guy. Oh, the Jolly Green Giant.
Jolly Green Giant.
Spinach guy.
Hey, he's-
A little bit
Green Giant.
That's funny.
Uh,
Oh, I love you guys. That's funny. Okay, we're gonna. Oh, and I gotta point this out before I move on to the very last question. One of my girls here, Chrissy, is a huge fan of Danger Bay, and she lives in California, and she
What?
loves Danger Bay. Can you
No
believe that?
way.
She first told me
Oh.
she watched Danger Bay, I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I didn't know that made it out of Canada.
Because they're talking about how about Danger Bay versus Edison twins.
Oh, like Danger Bay,
Oh,
hands down.
She does
I
the
love
Addison
Danger Bay.
Twins. Danger
Yeah.
Bay, if you didn't know, is a Canadian show filmed out of Vancouver, Hollywood North, where they're basically it takes place at the Vancouver Aquarium, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they do like all kinds of fighting crime and shit like that.
like poaching and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Environmental crime, fighting it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
It was so
Danger Bay.
good, right? It was awesome, and it was like just super exciting to watch. And
I have
Yeah,
to
I
admit,
love
I
that
don't
show.
know either of those.
Okay.
I-
Danger Bay or Edison Twins.
Must have been 80s.
it was definitely 80s, but it's like I have fond memories, and it's one of those things I don't want to go back and watch because it can't have aged well. Like there's no way it's as riveting as it was when we
It's
were
on-
kids.
It's on
It was
CBC's
84.
YouTube, I think.
It was 84 and it lasted for 6 seasons.
6 seasons.
Hmm. Beachcombers. Also a BC production. Yeah. But all right, let's move on to the very last this or that. And I think all of our American friends can participate in this one because this one's very generic. Coke or Pepsi?
Mm.
Ooh, Coke or Pepsi? I'm a Pepsi girl.
Pepsi.
Really?
Yeah,
And why?
I like the taste better.
Oh man, that's going to be the answer for everything, isn't it? It just tastes
Mhm.
better.
And
no
really,
special reason.
Okay, but there. And if I'm gonna be like adding an extra reason why, their commercials. They had that commercial with Pink, Beyonce, and Britney that was amazing. Where they were singing Queen. Super sexy, super awesome.
Getting into
They
these
had some awesome
commercials.
commercials. Yeah.
Nice.
I like that. Jimmy, Coke or Pepsi?
Growing up, it was Pepsi, but now I can drink either. Like it's just, it doesn't, they all mix well with booze. But
That's what really matters.
but actually, Pepsi owns Hostess, and so like they're all owned by the same company now. And I have a Hostess in Tabor, so now I'm still a little more Pepsi side.
Hostess Frito Lay. Yes.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
KFC. Do they still own KFC Taco Bell? They
I
owned
don't-
KFC Taco Bell and Pizza Hut for most of the 90s. But yeah. Pepsi's they're both like superstar monster companies, but go ahead, Andrew. What is your choice?
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't really drink pop at all, but if I had to, if I was like faced with the two, I'd probably pick Coke just because I've been told that it's the better, but it's funny that I feel like the whole this versus that, like it's like if you had them in like unmarked containers, people that say they can taste the difference, I've really wanted to test that theory because I really feel like if you
should
didn't know
do
which
a
one was which.
You should do a conspiracy on that. See if it was if the taste challenge was a real thing or not.
If it was a real thing, and then maybe throw in like something like the PC brand cola or something like that. But Coca-Cola does have an interesting history. Like the whole thing about cocaine is true. Like there was like very like minute amounts, of cocaine in it. And it was actually almost originally called Cola Coca, which I think is kind of a interesting little
Cola
name.
Coca?
It was almost Cola Coca. Yeah, I know, which is
Yeah?
weird. But I mean, it's a cultural product, and I think that it's probably the more popular of the two. But really, like, I couldn't care less which one I get.
Andrew, conspiracy theory. If you turn a can of Coca-Cola Classic sideways, in the writing, you can see a guy smoking.
Oh
In the
my!
writing. Check it
Huh.
out. Write
Uh
that down.
oh. Okay, noted.
But okay, I've always worked at restaurants that served Pepsi right from the beginning. I
Mhm.
started my restaurant life working at Pizza Hut. So it was Pepsi. That's all. So I just got used to drinking Pepsi, honestly. Every single restaurant I've worked at is a Pepsi restaurant. Pepsi's a cheaper product. I think that's why. It's actually, but Coke is sweeter. People have said. I feel like it's a little more flat than Pepsi. This is just my taste buds. But Pepsi does make the best commercials. Pepsi makes amazing commercials.
Carla was saying to me, they also had the disastrous Kendall Jenner commercial commercials don't make it taste better. I personally think that it tastes better than Coke, so I do like it better that way.
I never
But,
saw the
yeah,
Kendall Jenner
I
commercial.
never saw.
It
I
must be
saw
on YouTube, right?
I saw the good ones from back in the day. Maybe it's a newer commercial thing because like the Pink and Britney and Beyonce one, that was like early 2000s. And,
that was the best commercial. Karene says she doesn't know about New Coke. So what happened? I think it was 1985. Coke decided
yeah.
to change their formula and called it New Coke. And people revolted hard. It was a
was so
disaster
weird.
for Coca-Cola
Yeah.
to the point where they brought back the old formula and called it Classic. And that's why we call Coca-Cola Classic. That is the reason.
Yeah.
The more you know.
It's like that Crystal Pepsi thing, which was also just
That's gross.
atrocious. And
That's-
why it just was like, well, it's transparent, but it's like, why does it taste like glue? Like what?
do you remember when they got the like vanilla Coke and cherry Coke and had those ones come out?
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you into that stuff, the vanilla Coke?
like a vanilla Coke or a cherry Coke, just like mwah, chef's kiss all over
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
She's asking, is it different in Canada? Theirs is made with corn syrup. Ours is made with sugar. No, ours is made with corn syrup too. I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
But I know that they taste different because I have friends that come from the States all of that say that the Coke tastes different than it does in the States.
Oh, does it? The McDonald's tastes a little different in the States, a little bit. But I love that Coke commercial though, the New Kids Coke commercial. Oh my goodness.
Anything
There's
new,
magic
like,
in the real thing. It's the best. I had to throw that in there. Anyway. Yeah. So to end things off, I definitely want to thank everybody who stayed in the chat with us this whole time. You guys are amazing. You're rock stars, and thank you for supporting this show the way you have. So open-heartedly embracing it, and it means the world to me. And it means the world to me to have you guys as friends and participating on the show all the time too. You take that time out of your lives and you put it into Dope Nostalgia, and I really, really love you for it. Thank you.
Thank you for putting such an awesome product out there. Like you were just busting
Absolutely.
your ass left and right. It's awesome to see.
Yeah.
It's joy,
like,
man.
honestly,
It brings me joy.
but I'm honestly like and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm like just a huge fan of the show regardless
Mhm.
of being on it or not. I love what you're doing. I love that you're bringing back a lot of these things that we grew up with, and where you get to take us back for that half hour to an hour, however long the episodes are, and get to talk to these people that we all grew up with, and it's awesome. And then also getting to find out what they're doing now. I think that's incredible that you're kind of giving that platform to them as well. And yeah, I love it. Congrats on 3 years.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well
that's
deserved.
proud
Good
to
job.
see where it's gone, your podcast, and how much work you put into it, and how much you've done so far, and how much there is that you can do going forward. Like 2023 could see Donnie on the show. Just saying.
Yeah.
Manifest that
Bring
shit.
Donnie on the show.
That's right.
I think it's something that could happen eventually. So I don't like to bother him because I know how busy he is, but we'll see. We'll see.
You guys are basically besties now, so like, just be like Donnie whenever you got a minute. Just
He's a good man. He treats his fans really well, and just the fact that he puts that love out there is very appreciated. But
Yeah.
and I'm so happy, and also to make sure you guys check out these guys' beautiful podcasts too. Okay, it's a conspiracy podcast and the Jedi Jimmy podcast. Jedi Jimmy is only on YouTube, right?
I'm on everything. Yeah. Apple. I'm on everything. I'm on Apple Music,
I apologize.
podcasts, Spotify, all of it.
Okay, cool. Make sure you guys drop by and show them some love. And woo, thank you for all being out there today. And that's it. That's the 3rd anniversary. Let's have a great 3rd year. It's going to be awesome. I love y'all.
Yay!
love you too. Thank you so much for having us
Oh,
on.
yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.